Specimen processing, labeling. This video will review the proper way to label using the labels that print from the order entry LIS system, Copia. Upon reviewing this video, you will be able to understand what pieces of information will print on each label and what drives that information, how to properly place labels in their appropriate spots, and how to identify specimen handling or delivery needs as indicated by the labels. Each time an order is placed in Copia, corresponding labels will print upon saving the order. Each order should yield a pre-programmed number of master labels. Master labels contain general information pertaining to the patient, not specific to a tube type. These labels contain the following pieces of information: the barcode, the SID, or specimen identification number, patient name, last, first, patient date of birth, patient gender, ordering location, and date. These labels are designed to be used for labeling all paperwork that accompany the patient's tubes. For example, requisitions, demographic sheets, and insurance information. Just below the master labels are the tube type specific labels. Each of these labels contain information pertaining to the specific tube needed to perform the test ordered in Copia. The information on these labels include patient's name, last, first, barcode, the SID, type of tube needed, test ordered for that specific tube type, the lab performing those tests, and any specimen handling needs. As you can see here, each label indicates the corresponding cap color for the specific tube type as a guide to which tube that label belongs to. The label set, when applicable, will also contain labels for any aliquot tubes that are needed. Some aliquot labels will indicate the word aliquot on the label. Others will be indicated by the need for special specimen handling. For example, in the case where frozen aliquots are needed to perform a specific test. In most cases, all labels will not necessarily be used. Given the way Copia identifies test requirements, for example, sample type, specimen handling needs, etc., it will supply a label for each condition listed for that specific test. You will begin by labeling all paperwork that accompanies the patient's tubes. Remember, all paperwork will be labeled using the master labels. Be sure to place these labels in a horizontal fashion in a clear spot on the paperwork whenever possible, so as not to cover any printed information. As you're labeling the paperwork, be sure to re-verify the patient's identity by comparing the name and date of birth on the label with the name and date of birth on the paperwork. Next, you will label each mother tube received with the order. Again, it is very important to verify the patient's identity. As you are placing the label on the tube, compare the patient's name on the label you're placing with the patient's name on the tube labeled by the client. Take note of the sample type indicated on the tube. Place the label on the appropriate tube type. For example, SST Tiger Top label will be applied to the Tiger Top tube. When possible, try to leave a window on the tube so that the serum or plasma will be visible. When placing the labels, be sure to place the barcode toward the top of the tube at the height of the manufacturer's label. Repeat with all mother tubes received. The Hornet red/yellow label will be applied to the serum Hornet tube. EDTA Pearl Top label will be applied to the plasma tube. Notice this label has a P bump at the end of the SID that is specific to this tube. Bumps are necessary for instruments to identify the specimen types. Gold Top label will be applied to the serum Gold Top tube. EDTA Lavender Top label will be applied to the Lavender Top tube. Notice this label also has a bump, a G at the end of the SID, specific to this tube type. Urine preservative label will be applied to the urine or red-yellow brick top tube. Notice this label also has a bump at the end of the SID, AW.